It is Saturday night once again. This is the Overnight Mouse Party. I'm DM Foss, and tonight we have so far gun websites. How you doing, G-Webs?
Brother Midland, thanks for hosting.
And Gizzard Gary. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
I was goofing around the other day with some of the AI songwriting thingies. That's one of the ones that is able to come up with. Kind of
Definitely-
What's that?
They definitely have like a signature thumbprint to them. You can tell when it's an AI.
Well, yeah, and it was interesting because I tried out a few different ones where I could do it for free, and each different program had its own style, which was kind of interesting. So
That's true. I use a thing that has, when I go to Songwrite, I think it has like 12 of them now, but like it's probably 8, but then like, version 2 of this one and version 3 of this one. And each of those, like you say, will have a different like ability.
yeah, and so there's a few. The next few intros will have different ones, and I'm thinking about maybe just sticking with one of the songs that I kind of like.
Do you just tell it like, here's the parameter of a song I want, or do you tell it like, I want it to be a rock and roll song like Kiss, or like Kiss this particular song by Kiss?
Well, I went in and gave it a few prompts, ideas that I wanted in the song. And then most of them had drop down choices of, the genre for the music.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. Because I was going to say, at the beginning, when I first started playing with it, if you just didn't give it anything, it pretty much came out rock and roll. But if you started to tell it, like, you turned it into something else, it would.
There is one rap one, which is it's okay. Part of it I do like in the middle of the song, but just something to kind of change it up a little bit. In my younger days, the style on this song is what I kind of liked, kind of speed metal ish, along with oldies. I still like oldies. But I don't know, just trying something different and trying to not rely on the free music from YouTube. Because YouTube does have a library of music that people will upload you can use, and some of them need attribution. You have to give credit to the person who made it, and some of them you don't. But that can change in the future, which can affect your videos. So someone that didn't want attribution can later say, yes, now they want attribution. And so you can possibly get dinged for it. But I don't know, just kind of trying to change it up a bit, trying something new. I don't know if I should stick with just make one intro and then that'll be the intro. I've had fun, trying to come up with different pictures, and then I would try and kind of match the music to the pictures, but I don't know. What do you guys think?
The cookie cutter thing is boring. I like seeing a different one every time. That's why I did it on my shows like that. I mean, unless it's laborious, it takes you too long. But once you got a system down, it takes a couple of seconds to, especially with AI, to kick out a new image.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to vary stuff up.
I'll usually sit down for a few hours on a Saturday after I get home from work, and then I'll make up a bunch of them. Kind of do them in batches. To live move. Whoop.
Moo's talking about your face.
Clicking on the wrong thing. Too like Moo said, Foss must have 100 of those blue plaid shirts. Don't get me started on the face. Nope, just the one. I just keep wearing it over and over. I pretty much only wear it when I come out here. I don't. As soon as I go back in the house, I'll take it off. Same with the hat. This is my chat hat. Only time I wear it is when I'm on the chats, because it drives me crazy seeing the state of my hair. I need a haircut. Well, let's say hello to the few people that are out there that said something. Vulcan Rumble was out there first. He said 2026 OD is back in. I think he means OD green. You're going to see a lot of OD helmet bags.
Don't you got a Floby?
Gary? No. I go to a local guy who I pay probably way too much, but I like him. G Webs, 2 Live Moo, DJ Fishing and Shooting. He just put out a couple videos, goat hunting and bunnies. He's out there hunting the fuzzy bunnies. Justin Grimm. I think that's everybody so far. Maybe a light audience tonight. That's all right. Just remember, no refunds. So I went through and I had asked Google's AI. Oh, New York Outcast is out there. I asked the Google AI, I asked ChatGPT and Grok what the 10 most important Second Amendment case stories of 2025 were.
That's super interesting. Did it come out right or did it come up weird?
Well, the Grok, I thought Grok probably did the best. The Google was okay, and ChatGPT gave me stories from 2022 and 2023. So I'll share. Let me share screen. I'll show you window. Share that one. So this one, I think this was the Google one. Oh,
Do you make it smaller? Is there any way to make this smaller?
yeah, hang on here. Well, I've got it on my vertical, so it's showing it vertical.
Ew.
Hang on, let me move it over here. There we go. So it gave me Supreme Court upholds ghost gun regulation. The Bondi versus Vanderstock. Because pretty much the reasoning was it's too easy to put together a gun that the government won't know about. The
really
repeal. What's that?
That really happened?
Yeah.
I don't remember that happening.
Was 7-2 decision in March 2025. A repeal of these ATF zero tolerance program under the Biden administration. Any mistake that an FFL made, they could lose their license over. Even simple mistake in the paperwork, honest mistakes in the paperwork. So they repealed that. Circuit split over handgun bans for 18 to 20-year-olds. Fifth Circuit struck down the ban in Reese versus ATF, while the Fourth Circuit upheld similar ban. and that creates a circuit split, which hopefully the Supreme Court will look at to fix that, because there shouldn't be different laws. The law shouldn't be applied differently in different parts of the U.S. The rise of state-level sensitive ban places. So states expanding where you can't carry. The NFA tax being reduced to 0. You still have to go through all the registration. And that's the... I can't think of their... Not the GOA, but the other... FPC?
Mm-hmm.
I think they're the ones that brought that they're filed a brief or something saying that now that it's a 0 tax. It shouldn't even be on the NFA, which well, there was I think a representative that wrote a letter to the DOJ saying that we made the tax 0 in order to have it removed from the NFA. But they didn't vote to have it removed from the NFA. So beginning January 1st, short barrel rifles, short barrel shotguns, and suppressors, there's no more tax, but you still have to go through the registration.
And the thing is, though, the real story is that there was this big, beautiful bill, right? And because that was a tax bill, they couldn't remove stuff from the NFA. Some lady goes, hey, wait a minute, this can only be taxes or something. So this is the results, but it doesn't show the intention, maybe, or like the full story. So I guess what I was going to say is I'm pretty sure it should go like ... yet, because the whole plan is to I'm hoping the plan is to drop the whole NFA by taking off pieces of it.
We'll see. We'll see if it moves any farther.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think this was like, this is all we got. I think this was, did a pretty good swing, and then, it fumbled, but the ball still got moving, and, everybody's still hustling. Like, I still think there's, I don't know, sports, but I think this is still a ball in play. I don't think this is over.
The
touchdown.
Challenges to state assault weapons ban. Multiple federal circuits continue to grapple with bans on AR-15s and high-capacity magazines. The First Circuit upheld Massachusetts' ban. Supreme Court signaled continued interest in reviewing these laws in the future terms, which doesn't mean anything until it does.
Just FYI, whenever my robot tells me stuff like, what did it say there? No, that one. The wording, though, whenever it says like, it was high capacity magazines, I'll tell my robot there's no high capacity magazines. Just call them, I don't care about standard capacity, but just say 30 round magazines, because there's connotation to high capacity when the definition is not, you know what I mean? Well, you know the deal. Anyway, I'll tell my robot that. And then because, I don't know, do you pay for GBT?
No.
Oh, I don't think when you pay, you have to pay for it to remember, I think. But the benefit is then that it'll never, for the most part, it won't say stuff like that in my, my results or whatever. It'll say just 30 round magazine or whatever. Anyway, just FYI, your robots can get, they're, what's the word, programmable, or like, you can tell them what to do. So I think it's worth it for gun stuff to tell them what to do, so that our gun stuff doesn't repeat anti-gun, whatever jargon.
Yeah. Domestic violence gun restrictions, Rahimi fallout. Courts in 2025 worked to implement the 24 decision in Rahimi, with the Iowa Supreme Court in State versus Cole using a waiver doctrine to disarm individual subjects to subject to domestic violence protection orders. Marijuana users and firearm possession. The Fifth and Eighth Circuits issued rulings indicating that marijuana users who are sober and not in possession of the drug at the time of arrest cannot be convicted under 18 USC 922 G3. Yeah, I agree. And state level Death Star bill in Texas successfully challenged numerous city gun ordinance based on new states preemption laws that prevent localities from implementing stricter regulations than the state. That's good. Washington, we have a preemption law.
Yeah, that's just called preemption, right?
Yeah.
With that one though, it doesn't. I mean, I don't remember that one happening either, because it doesn't say when the marijuana one happened. But what are you supposed to do? Like, marijuana users are supposed to. They have to go. I don't think it's delivered. They have to go to the store to get it. So they're supposed to go to the store to buy the marijuana, probably by the gallons or whatever, and then they brought cash there, and they're bringing home gallons of marijuana on the way home, and they're not supposed to be armed. That seems like a recipe for dumbness. Like, they should. You can go to the store and buy all the booze you want. You can't, depending on the state. Some states you can be drunk, you just can't be intoxicated. Or I should say, you can be under the influence, you just can't be in whatever they call it, like beyond the level of influence or whatever. But other states you can't be drinking at all, but you can definitely, in every state I'm familiar with that you can carry, there's nothing stopping you from going into a liquor store and buying as much booze as you want, armed, and going home armed. So I don't think that one's all the way there yet. I think gun or marijuana users should be able to go buy gallons of marijuana armed if they want.
Yeah, I think that's just a carryover of the
the old days.
Yeah, I can't think of the word I was trying to think of. Basically, the way that marijuana was demonized, where, to make it this thing that it isn't. And probably the more, I don't know what percentage would say that just don't understand that it's not what they're being told, because the government's the one that told them that, so they believe the government.
And doctors and stuff, yeah. I think it's just going to take a time now that there's, whatever it is, 30 states with some sort of marijuana difference, from back in the day. And now that they've rescheduled it, I think that'll just take a little time, and then people will forget about the olden days. Just like with alcohol. I don't know if nobody was around when Prohibition happened, right? That was between the wars. I don't remember when it was in the 20s. So it was before. No, yeah, it was between the wars, right? But anyway, nobody's around from Prohibition. But I don't think just because there was Prohibition that a bunch of people changed their mind on alcohol. I think that a bunch of people dealt with it, and then a bunch of people who still wanted to drink went to all the speakeasies that existed or bought whatever booze they wanted, and, just dealt with it. They went and bought, I forget what it was. Like, didn't they buy some other kind of alcohol, like, alcohol for cleaning or something? And they would just buy the one that they'd pour something in, and it would be like a cocktail. So, you know what I mean? I think that they don't, the prohibitions at the federal level don't change people's opinions. I think that's a cultural thing. So once marijuana once it's like whatever in society more, and not just like on the outskirts of society, I think people's opinions of it will be more realistic.
I do think so too. I think the Overton window is shifting.
Yeah.
There is a similarity with the prohibition of alcohol. It's I think a little bit different, because a lot more people drank than used marijuana. So it was more like taking away something that I don't know if most people had, but
Yeah, if they would have taken away cigarettes, it would have been more comparable, right?
yeah.
Well, maybe in the 70s when like the heyday of cigarettes or whatever. But yeah, they're taking away or whatever. They're prohibiting something that only a fraction of the community even cares about.
But with prohibition on alcohol, it was the same thing where people had made up a bunch of facts that weren't really true and demonized alcohol to get it banned, and they got it banned. And it's kind of the same thing that happened with marijuana.
You just had much bigger entities involved with banning marijuana than alcohol. Alcohol was just a bunch of ladies and people that were teetotalers, right? Where marijuana, if you listen to the books, was, things like DuPont, who, wanted nylon to exist and not natural fibers or whatever, and, paper companies and stuff like that that wanted less competition for their paper, their wood pulp or whatever.
Yeah. I was going to tangent off, but we'll stay on topic, stay on target.
Well, they're very similar though. And this one was on topic. Like it was literally the second one there.
Was there? That was the last one on.
That was all on GPT though.
This one was the Google.
Oh, okay.
Google's AI. So I'll bring up the other one. No, that's not the one I want. That's the one I want. So this one is Grok. What Grok was saying, and it'll say some of the same ones, but we'll go ahead and go through their list. So Grok said the Department of Justice established a new Second Amendment rights section in its Civil Rights Division, the first dedicated office to protect gun rights.
Oh, that was a big deal.
I think that was a very big deal. Excuse me. This marked a major policy shift leading to aggressive enforcement actions against restrictive state and local laws. Still kind of waiting. They've just started, so we'll see how this shakes out, how effective it is, how the fight goes, what kind of fight it's going to be. And the DOJ sues Washington, D.C. over assault weapons ban. That's interesting. That's something the government has never done before. The DOJ's news section filed a lawsuit in D.C. DC's ban on AR-15 style firearms and broad registration requirements, arguing they violate the Second Amendment by prohibiting commonly used arms for lawful purposes. This is seen as a direct application of the new office's mandate. And I think that's something that's very important, because in a bunch of these lawsuits over semi-auto rifle bans, you'll hear the judges say for self-defense, and the lawyers don't always correct them to say not just self-defense, but all legal purposes, lawful purposes. But I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not under the same pressure, so it's easier, for me to be watching this afterwards to point that out. But it would be nice that every time you hear a judge say self-defense, for self-defense, that they're corrected. That especially because you can lean on the Supreme Court said lawful purposes, not just self-defense.
I'm just a caveman.
And because I watched, oh, was it Oregon? I think it was in the Oregon, them dealing with their new laws. I think it was in the state Supreme Court. But one of the judges had said that this in not Miller. What were the two big ones?
In
80s.
Oregon?
No. Supreme Court. Not Heller. The other one.
McDonald?
McDonald. I think it's in McDonald. Or what?
So Heller says you can carry, and McDonald says a city can't fuck with that, basically. Like Chicago or Illinois can't mess with that. Like the Heller already said it. And then Ezel said you can't deny gun shops. You can't make it intolerable for someone to, to be able to carry.
It might have been NYSERPA where the judge was referencing, but they had said self-defense, and the lawyer who didn't correct him at that time, but then came back. I believe it came back in the rebuttal, and then corrected it there, which was nice to see. One of the other things at McDonald that I don't understand why McDonald isn't brought up for safe storage laws, because in McDonald they address that the city can't tell you how to store your gun. I'm pretty sure it's in that case. So, because you had to have like your ammunition separate from your gun and then locked up. And I'm pretty sure in that case, Supreme Court said you can't tell them to do that. It makes it basically unusable for self-defense.
I think it's also the authority. The state doesn't have the authority to do it.
I agree with that. DOJ sues U.S. Virgin Islands over gun permit delays. I was not aware of that one. Another early action from the DOJ Second Amendment section targeted the Virgin Islands for unconstitutional delays in processing gun permits, emphasizing timely access to rights. Yes, a right delayed is a right denied. Supreme Court agrees to hear challenges to drug user gun ban. That's the marijuana. Court took up, U.S. v. Himani, examining whether federal law barring unlawful drug users from possessing firearms violated Second Amendment. This case, linked to prior Hunter Biden-related issues, could resolve court circuit split and clarify post-Bruin standards. I don't know why it added in the Hunter Biden line. It's irrelevant.
Because he brought it up, like he shined a light on it or something.
Could be.
Or I should say, when his dad dismissed it, that shined a light on it.
Garage guys out there, good evening. Supreme Court takes up private property carry ban case. The judges agree to review Hawaii's law restricting guns on private property without owner consent, potentially expanding carry rights facing spaces like malls and restaurants. It's not just getting owner's consent. You have to get their consent before you carry onto the property. Porky Pig 22LR. Good evening. President Trump's executive order on protecting Second Amendment rights. That's good, but it's temporary. Any executive order can be overturned by the next executive. the justices agree to review Hawaii's law restricting on gun. Oops. Early in the year, Trump signed an executive order directing agencies to review and undo Biden-era restrictions, emphasizing Second Amendment protections and launching broader reforms. Second Amendment Foundation declares 2025 a landmark year in litigation. Probably also a landmark year in fundraising. The Second Amendment Foundation reported major victories in courts nationwide, including wins on age restriction, carry rights, and challenges to federal regulations over 55 active cases reshaping gun law. DOJ and ATF repeal zero tolerance policy for firearms stealers. The administration ended the Biden-era aggressive enforcement approach, replacing it with a fairer framework, hailed as a significant win for licensed dealers. And Supreme Court rejects several assault weapon ban challenges. Court declined to hear cases on state assault weapons ban, though dissenting justices Thomas, Alito, and Gorsuch signaled future interest, leaving room for potential future review. Lawsuits challenging the National Firearms Act. Groups including NRA, SAF, and others filed suit against the 1934 NFA, targeting taxes and restrictions on suppressors and short-barreled rifles, with some legislative pushes to repeal related taxes.
That was pretty good. That one was which one?
That was Grok.
Grok, okay.
I thought Grok did probably the best. I was happiest with the Grok one. Were there any other stories from 2025 that you guys thought were important, Second Amendment related stories?
Off the top of my head, I'd have to think about it. But I think yes. I know Walk the Talk America did a couple of things this year that I thought were pretty impressive. There's some, there was a thing in like New Orleans that they've gone to before, but this year looks like they made some progress on stuff, on gun locks and things like that. And then in getting through to the industry on having a different opinion on gun locks. And then I think it was like in November or September or something, they did something in Phoenix that they got invited to. I don't know if it was the first time or the second year, and pretty optimistic about that. Anyway, so I thought that was newsworthy, but then I feel like there was a couple other things that were, not primetime news, but in the gun realm, I thought they were pretty significant.
There were other stories that I came across, but they were kind of more state related, like Oregon.
I personally, even though it's not 100% gun thing, I think rescheduling marijuana to make it where it can be researched is going to change suicide rates, personally, and I think that'll affect us as gun owners because they won't have the same numbers of dead bodies to surf on.
Yeah, I think that's a good possibility. Garage Guy said Virginia has some BS laws coming in 26. If the new governor and administration approves it, if approved, Virginia will be East California.
Yeah, Massachusetts is getting wailed on, and New Jersey's, in tyranny, so that's something that I would say was like omitted from those, where it's not national level news, I guess, but I think it has implications. We tend to look at the good stuff and be satisfied when we should also be aware of what the bad stuff is so that we're not letting it either get out of hand or, we always have that opportunity to end the bad laws in a couple of states, but anyway, we don't do that. And I think they kind of mentioned it in the Grok one, I guess, at the end, saying that the assault weapons bans were dismissed, but there was more than just the assault weapons bans. But again, those are things that haven't been taken to the Supreme Court yet. So I guess it's hard to count them as news. Did you ask what news or what Supreme Court cases?
I just asked what were the top 10 Second Amendment related stories of 2025.
Okay. I think they both did a pretty good job.
Not bad. Like I said, the Chat GPT one, but it's the free version, so it probably doesn't look as deep. What kind of missed the mark, I thought. It gave me Second Amendment stories, but not all of them were from this year. I don't pay for AI because I'm not funding the robot revolution.
I think that again, it's adjacent, but I think that the prohibition on any foreign-made drones is just as bad as the dumbass move to stop importation of foreign-made firearms. Maybe worse, but that's basically what they did. In December here, they said we're going to stop DJI and Altel, two companies, from importing from now on, and then the 22nd, the day before it went into place, they said, we're going to change our minds and make it any foreign-made drone component, which is ridiculous because we don't have anything made in the United States. Like, literally, we design some shit, but we don't make anything here for almost anything, but definitely not for drones. So that was a dumbass decision that I still think drones are arms, but so they should be included in the Second Amendment, but...
What's the reasoning behind it?
They didn't explain why. It makes no sense. Like, it's a baffling decision. Plus, they did things outside of their authority. It's the the FCC who'd made this ruling because Bluetooth, I guess, because the radio waves, they have some authority over the radio waves, but they banned importation of foreign-made motors and props and whatever, a couple other parts that have nothing to do with the radios. So they've, I don't remember, in September or something, the FAA gave itself the FCC gave itself the permission or the authority to regulate a whole bunch of stuff. And because nobody cares, nobody challenged it. And now the FCC has all this authority to basically decide what we can own. And it also makes no sense because think about phones and cameras and everything else that exists that made in China. Like, we're seriously concerned about this stuff. But anyway, the concern is that the stuff made in China is susceptible or something, or vulnerable or something.
TJ said Chinese drones can intelligence gather and send back to China.
Yeah, but in reality, especially if we're filming in 4K so that you can actually do something with the video. I mean, have you ever moved a 4K video around? No one's doing that subtly in the background. The drones don't have some 8G connection that we don't know about that sends it back to Mother China. It's fear of something that makes no sense. Our phones are running constantly, and our phones are constantly sniffing stuff. And all we're worried about is TikTok. But people don't care about privacy, don't care about what our phones are doing. Like I say, we have smart refrigerators and shit like that, and I think they're worried about drones because of what's happening in Ukraine and all that kind of stuff. People don't like the idea that people can have that tactical advantage of a drone, so they'd rather just the government owns that.
Consumer level drones, like the little DJIs, you can't really do anything like they're doing in the Ukraine. Those are larger. Those are the commercial drones.
Well, you could probably carry one grenade with a recreational commercial drone.
The ones that you have, they have enough power to lift themselves.
Like I said, they could probably carry a grenade. My big one, maybe.
So it's not. I've watched some videos which have assuaged some of my fear of the drones. I've kind of put in perspective, what the drones can and can't do. And, when looking at the and the one video I watched used the Ukraine as the example. So you can see what kind of drones they're using and why. You go to Walmart and buy a drone. You're not going to be doing what they're doing in the Ukraine with that.
No, the drug cartels are doing some stuff with them, but they're more like, figure out how much the thing can carry, go as far as it can, and then drop the load, and then
they're making billions of dollars a year. They can afford to get
whatever. Exactly. Well, they also have to have drones. If they get too big, they get cut on whatever radar. We have tons of radar on the border, so they probably have to be pretty small to get past any of that. Oh, dang it. I hate having a comment from over there. TJ saying Chinese phones are banned in Australia.
Oh, that's interesting.
But just being able to send a drone up to take a look around, like what if the shit hits the fan? You want to be able to take a drone up and see who's coming down the street, or take a drone up and map out whatever. I think they're great.
If shit hits the fan, then drone laws aren't going to matter. Same with.
Oh no, of course not. But if they say we can't, well, they basically said you can't buy them anymore. So that means, I guess there's some like testing that has to be done to make sure that the Wi-Fi is going to work or not broadcast into other, leak into other spectrums or something. So they don't do that. They won't do that testing anymore. So the last two drones that got approved are the Neo and the Avata 360, I think. And once those, like the one just got released on Amazon, the next one will be released maybe in January or something. And then that's it. Like nothing else can be sold here in the United States. But now they're saying no foreign drones at all. So basically we'll just have whatever drones we have today. Boom. Like no new drones are going to be sold or imported or whatever.
The goddamn bacon's out there. It's got, I don't know. I hadn't, other than I think, when you've mentioned it, that's the only mention I've seen of it, of a ban.
Oh yeah, I'm sure nobody's paying attention, and it's just annoying. It's sort of like when they banned, NFA shit. I'm sure like some people were like, "Hey, come on, then we're not bothering nobody," and then a bunch of people were like, "Yeah, that sounds like a great idea." And when you hear about like, oh, somebody's flying a drone and spying on somebody, or like, you take a drone, you can definitely throw a drone at somebody. You know what I mean? Like you have to be careful not to, if you're watching something on a video, like you can dive bomb something easily. I don't know how much damage you're going to do with a 250 gram drone. They're kind of made to not do damage. Otherwise they'd be bigger. But, a ban on foreign made stuff, I mean, is that going to stop somebody from understanding how a drone works and making it out of 4 drills? All you got to do is take 4 power drills apart. You know what I mean? Like something you buy at the store with lithium batteries, and figure out the, what are those things called? The Raspberry Pi to do the brain part, and then, whittle something together out of balsa wood. Now you've got a drone, and now you've just made one, like you said, that's got a bigger platform. So it's just ridiculous to think that by banning stuff from another country, we're somehow going to affect people's behavior in this country. But anyway, it's the fact that nobody uses them, nobody cares.
I think it would be an interesting video if you load tested your drones. How much of a payload can it have?
Oh, I don't have to. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but there's people that have done that, because that's the thing. People do use them for that. Like, let's say you wanted to take a drone up and drop a T-shirt over an audience or something. You're not supposed to do that, but people do that kind of stuff with them, and they figured out, I'm sure there's probably a chart somewhere, how much they can carry. I'm sure they can carry something, just because when you try to grab it out of the air, like it fights you, like it's pretty strong. They're pretty strong. But it just hasn't been something I've wanted to do yet.
And I do apologize for the rumbling that you'll probably keep hearing. The Freedom furnace here has to call for gas because the Freedom heat pump, it's cold enough outside where it can't quite provide enough heat. So it's calling on the backup, the Freedom backup. TJ said they were caught intelligence gathering.
I think he means the phones, because again, I don't know how drones can do it.
I
Drones
was
can
gonna-
look at anything they want, but they're going to make giant files that can't be, you know what I mean? Like my drones aren't connected to the internet. They're just in my bag over here.
Yeah, I was thinking, for the drones, what intelligence are they gathering? How many kangaroos you have?
I mean, they map. I mean, that's one of the things I want to start playing with is you send a drone up on a grid and it'll literally map. But the thing is we have Google Maps and the Chinese throw balloons over here. So mapping is kind of silly. The idea that the drones can somehow get taken over and, used against us is also like just dumb. That's like saying our phones are going to be used. The phones are being used against us, but because we're dumb and we carry our phones everywhere and we use them for everything.
And well, the U.S. used to do that. They put in backdoors in like phone systems that they sold to foreign nations.
Well, backdoors in our own in AT&T, right?
Yeah.
Like there was a stipulation for that or whatever.
And TJ said, yes, the phones. And TJ said, we have the drones. Well, we can have the drones.
And that's another thing that I've become more and more, especially with the AI and stuff, people that are like, oh no, we shouldn't use it because of it could be bad. Well, do you think the rest of the world stopped using it? Like DJI is going to continue to make drones. They're like the best drone maker, and every other country is going to keep buying them. So all we've done is told the rest of the countries, like, go ahead and get better drones than us. Like, we'll just stop using drones, I guess. Because we seriously have nobody that's even anywhere near. We don't have anything in the United States. The only thing we have in the United States is like you're talking about the $3,000 drones that the firefighters use to drop water on shit, or like that they send up with infrared and thermal to look for lost people. You hope, because they don't do anything else with those thermal drones except look for lost people, right?
I could see restrictions on drones used by the government because you need to have, security in your drone.
Well, that's mainly what they did. Is they said the government cannot use foreign-made drones anymore. So basically, they told a couple of like 4 companies that make U.S.-made drones that start at $3,000 and go up to $20,000. Like you can now only you can sell to the government entities.
That I understand. Or if we had a burgeoning drone industry that you're looking to protect with tariffs or with the bans.
Like if we made the drones and they were being stolen, like phones and stuff, but we didn't make the drones. The drones, DJI came up with the drones. I'm sure we had something to do with them, but DJI is, from what I understand, like the ones doing the development now. And they're not necessarily Chinese. I think they're 20% Chinese. Like they're in, I don't know if they're in the Philippines or where they are.
I don't know. Personally, I've just never been interested in drones.
Oh, the more I play with them, the more I like them. They're super fun. And like I say, they're strategically useful. They're tactically useful. So I do not want to be without that anymore. Like now that I know what they can do, especially think of my little one. I mean, it takes a little while to get up, but a little thing that's in your hand and without any kind of remote control or anything, you can just have it by motion, by waving at it, like pointing at it, like peace sign, like kind of like how Gizzard's AI looks at him and does different things in his background. It's basically just hand signals like that. You could have your drone go up and look around, be 75, 100 feet in the air, like a periscope. Like, yes, everybody should have that. Everyone should have that. Who's knocking at the door? I don't know. Send my drone up, find out.
The only thing that kind of interested me was like watching Chris from the 740 and the way he uses the drone in his videos, like range footage and stuff.
But imagine that in your car. Like if you're in traffic and now you can pop your little drone up, see what's going on in traffic ahead of you, comes back down just like Mach 5. Yes.
The only thing would be having a 360 view of my crappy video doesn't add to the content. That's the same reason I haven't worried about like 4K videos. Being able a clearer view of my crappy video isn't really going to add anything to it.
Yeah. So what does that mean? Other people shouldn't have the right to do it?
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm talking about me myself.
No, I hear you, but that's what I think most people are like. Well, I don't care; it doesn't affect me, so who cares if they ban them?
Well, that applies to most things for most people.
Oh, for sure.
That's
Yeah,
why
I'm not saying that's not like a factor of humanity. That's just all it is. Like 9mm doesn't affect anybody's life. Nobody cares about it.
I don't know. The 9mm has become pervasive. It's weaseled its way into most people's lives. Oh, I'm just a little 9mm. Don't worry about me.
Like Rust.
Rust is easier to get rid of. Oh, so I don't know. Was there anything else that happened this year that's worth mentioning? Gary?
I can't think of anything in particular. No.
I think that some things that didn't happen are worth, kind of the same like attention or whatever. Imagine if we would add a different president option. Well, this year would have been different. So it didn't actually happen, but by not happening, it allowed all those other things to happen.
I think so.
And then I think it's also interesting that there was a lot of doom and gloom. I mean, there always is, I guess, but it seemed like it's been at a higher level than the standard norm or whatever for a number of years about, oh, it's all going to end because of, whatever. Our guy didn't win, the economy, tariffs, wars, I don't know, whatever. And I mean, I'm not saying everything's perfect, but we're definitely none of those doom and gloom scenarios came through, or at least not to the level that they would have suggested. So I don't think that's something, but it's kind of something. It's not a thing that happened, but it's.
I agree. I won't say it would be interesting to see if Trump hadn't won, because
No. Maybe a thought experiment of what would have happened if he didn't win. And I was just listening to an interview right before this show where they're talking about it'll probably be February and they're already talking about the next president. It'll go into full blown worrying about the next president. So we're almost past the whole Trump thing anyway. You know what I mean? He'll be totally lame duck by middle of next year.
Yeah. Trump announcing the super duper battleship, the SS.
I don't remember that. What?
I haven't looked into it. I've seen a couple people talk about it. Which makes absolutely no sense. There's no need for battleships in a modern navy. Because you're not shooting other battleships anymore.
Well, battleships, you can park them and then shoot miles in on shore. We don't use them just for shooting other battleships, but I'm not saying we need another battleship either. I don't
Aircraft carrier.
Aircraft carriers don't have battleship guns, though.
Like a single aircraft carrier and all its accompanying ships can control the Gulf, not Gulf,
Okay, it's a class of battleship. It's a large guided missile warship class announced by Bush in December as part of a Golden Fleet intended to be the world's biggest, most powerful surface combatants built since World War II. Hypersonic missiles, rail guns, and lasers. So it's a battleship with lasers. You're against lasers and hypersonic now?
I would think you'd be better off with, instead of one large capital ship, destroyers or frigates.
Hmm.
fast moving, especially if you're using lasers. You don't need a huge battleship.
Well, maybe you need it for the cooling or something. Well, not the cooling, I guess, but I don't know.
Just
Says
it
defense
doesn't-
defense analysts are skeptical, citing immense costs, technical challenges, and conflict with the Navy's current strategy of distributed forces, predicting the program might be canceled. Yeah, I can't imagine a giant boat being on anybody's list of like what we need. I like the idea of aircraft carriers, but I don't know if we need giant ass other boats either.
Well, just that an aircraft carrier can control an area. Like
Used to be able to. I don't know if it's, you know what I mean? Like in the future, though. I'm not a future tech or tactical person. I don't know what, because drones are affecting it, future lasers from space and stuff. If we can put laser power stations in space and we're lasering power down to Earth, that means we can zap things on Earth also. So, just like what you said, it might be better off to have like little aircraft carriers that take like a third of the planes or something on them, and have 4 of them out there. But I don't know. But I really like the idea of, I never heard of the hypersonic missiles, rail guns, and lasers on a boat. I mean, I guess I've heard of it, but I like the idea that we're getting towards that already. Although I don't know what you do with a laser on a boat. Don't you kind of need the curve to get into shore? It's not like you have line of sight very much when you're sitting on the water. I can see lasers in airplanes, but in boats seems kind of dumb or single purpose. Unless maybe the lasers are to knock down missiles or something.
they had one of the laser planes that they were trying to develop back in the 90s, early 90s, out at Boeing Field in Seattle.
Oh, you seen it, you mean?
Yeah, I've seen it from the highway. You could, but it was after they had given up on it. It was parked out there. Not sure if it was because there's a museum. There's an air flight museum kind of over there. So I don't know if it was a part of the air flight museum or somebody was just holding on to it.
Well, sometimes platforms like that, right? They'll yank the laser off and put something else in there because it's still an airplane. Like, it's just there to fly around a laser. So they could use it for something else, probably. I guess unless they get old.
Oh,
I took a tour of, is Newport News? I think for some reason I want to think Newport News. Is that out east? Is that in Virginia? But I think
Yeah,
I took a tour of that on a boat, and they had those little aircraft carriers. That's the first time I seen them. They're cool as hell. They're like helicopter aircraft carriers or something, like assault aircraft carriers. Oh, space battleships. Interesting. How long before we have space battleships? I think pretty quick.
wow. I
Especially if
don't know.
we're patrolling the asteroids and shit. Like, we'll probably have space forces like that.
The Germans, World War II Germans, had thought about sending, if they could send submarines into space. Because they're, it's a contained vessel or underwater. Well, maybe it'll work in space.
Probably would. Probably just don't need it to be. You could probably have more windows and shit, and you don't have to have like all pressurized.
I don't know. I haven't looked into it because you're underwater. You're looking at external pressure. In space, it's internal pressure pushing out.
Oh,
It's probably less, but I don't know.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm just looking at the space stations. Like, they're always weak. Looks like you could wing a rock through them.
But you got like my desktop. I'll show there it is. Is the Yamato space battleship Yamato, or in the US it was called Star Blazers. One of the greatest kids cartoons ever created.
So you're talking about Macross, or you're talking about something else?
No, it's not Ross. It's
not
the
Robotech?
Gamelons are bombarding the Earth with radioactive asteroids, and it drives humanity underground. They get contacted by another planet that says we've got this technology that can remove the radiation, and they gave them plans for an engine that could get them there, and they have basically 1 year to do it or the Earth will die off. So they retrofit the Japanese battleship, the Yamato, turned it into a space battleship, and go to Iskandar.
And then the rockets get it into space.
It's got the wave motion engine, which also powers the wave motion gun, which is somewhat equivalent to like the Death Star laser, because it can blow up some pretty big shit, and it can warp, but it can only make jumps. It can't like warp the whole way. So I don't know. It came out early 70s. So I used to watch it in the mornings. One of my friends, the bus stop was at basically his house. So we'd go over in the mornings and watch it, the cartoon, and then we'd go wait for the bus.
Yeah, that would be pretty awesome. I remember Macross or whatever, but they didn't play it in order, so I never really saw the whole thing, or knew.
I did. I liked it. In the U.S., they called it. It wasn't called Macross. It was called
Robotech.
Robotech.
Yeah.
I had one of the Robotech ships that turned into the robot.
Yeah, and it was a little different because of that. And then Robotech is the one where at some point one of them crashes in and they turn a city around it? Or is that the one you're talking about?
Don't really remember anything about it other than I liked it. And I have.
See, I think there might even be more than one. Because there's another one now that I'm remembering where the battleship, spaceship thing crashed into Earth, or else they parked it in Earth, and then they created a city around it, like a city sprawled out of it. And then at some point in the story, they have to pull out of the city and make it into a spaceship again. But that might just be it later on in Macross. What are you calling it? Macross? Is that how you say it?
Yeah. Yeah, the goddamn bacon. Goddamn bacon. Said Macross would be Robotech.
You're talking about those called Space Battleship Yamato, and that's the name of the show.
Yeah, in the U.S. it was called Star Blazers.
And it's all on Earth, or it's all up in space?
It's in space. It starts off in Earth, and then you kind of follow their journey to Iskandar to get the technology to save Earth. And they have to fight the Gamelons the whole way. We're trying to stop them.
Yeah, see, maybe I'm just mixing them all up then, because they all had giant battleships. And, well, sounds like there was no Transformers in this one, right? Like no jets that turned into robots.
No. Woods is out there. He said wave motion gun.
Did they have ships, like fighters? Or was it just this big battleship?
They did have fighters that they launched.
They look like Battlestar Galactica a little bit?
Kind of.
That might be what I'm thinking of then.
Yeah, they had little Zero fighters. They're tigers, and just trying to see if I can find pictures. Let's try this. So here I'll show what I'm looking at here. So these are the fighters that they launch.
Well, no, I don't remember these. Okay. Those are pretty good, though. I don't remember even seeing toys of these, though. Those are toys on the screen, though, right?
Yeah, these are more
Or
modern.
models, maybe.
I've got a Yamato model. It's probably a little more than a foot long. And the version I have is clear, but you can take it apart and see all the parts inside. So you can see all the parts of the engine. You can see the missile bays. It's really cool, unless because when we moved, I put it in a box and I forgot what box it was in. And a couple years afterwards, I saw the box and I go, I wonder what this is. And I shook the box. And it's a pain in the ass to put it back together. So this is one of the Tigers, this black one. But I love that show, and I still do love that show.
Looks like in 2010, there's a 2-hour and 17-minute live action movie.
There's been multiple cartoon versions, and then the live action one, which they did a pretty good job, but they changed the story a little bit.
Oh, here's a playlist with the story or the whole series from 1974, so I can watch it, I guess, on YouTube for free.
But I have the movie, yeah.
Oh, you got to. It's in Japanese. The whole thing is subtitled.
Well, as it should be.
Got to be reading all the time.
If you the more you watch subtitled movies, the less you realize you're reading while you're watching a subtitled movie.
No, I know. It's just that I have to actually be looking at them. I can't just be sitting here doing something else and then. Although I do, I just watch it for the noise anyway.
Well, if you watch it enough, then even because there's like old Kurosawa movies where I know a little bit of Japanese, so I'll get a few words, but I've seen the movie enough where I know what's going on. So just keep watching it over and over.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know, just from looking at the trailer, I guess, or whatever, the preview on the YouTube that's running on my other computer right now for the live action, it looks pretty freaking good. Like they put some effort into it.
They did a good job, I thought. I prefer the original story.
Well, it's going to be an entire episode, or what is it, multiple seasons or one season? The cartoon.
Oh, the cartoon, there were 3 seasons.
So they're probably trying to cram either a whole season or even more into the movie.
I think the movie is just the first season.
But I'm just saying, like, the special effects and stuff are, like, pretty freaking cool. I guess I'll watch the cartoon first, though.
And there's been some cartoon movies because there's like a Space Battleship Yamato 2199, I think it is, which it's similar, but there's a little bit of differences in that one too.
Are the aliens look like people, or are they some kind of blob or
something?
Yeah,
they look like people.
Oh, okay. The one I'm thinking of, I think the aliens look like some kind of, not even a bug, just some kind of green blob reptile thing.
Here's I found the model that I have. Looks like that. So you can take all the little pieces apart and then see all the what's underneath, like the engine, missiles. It came with a couple of the little fighter jets. But there's a lot of pieces to put together. What I really want is there's a Space Battleship Yamato pachinko machine. The more modern ones will have a screen on it that plays animations and stuff, but they're expensive. The goddamn bacon said the plot of Space Battleship Yamato sounds a lot like the one from G-Force. From that, I remember. But yeah, there's kind of a lot of them had similar plot lines. I have it's not G-Force, but because G-Force when it first came out was Battle of the Planets, and then second season they changed it to G-Force. I have a Battle of the Planets lunchbox. Carolina EDC Reviews is out there. He said Feliz Navidad and Prospero Ano. TJ Fishing says it needs racing stripes. And Woods is pretty much correct. Every episode, they shoot the bad guy with the wave motion gun. That's similar to like now I'm forgetting the name of the other cartoon. So one with all the lions that come together to make the big robot.
Voltron. Do you know any of these, Gizzard? I was going to say, did you watch any of these things, or do your kids watch any of
No, all this stuff is foreign to me. No pun intended.
Gizzard watched the Archies.
Well, this stuff was
Yeah,
hard
as a
to
matter of
find.
fact.
This stuff was hard to find unless you sought it out. You know, it was either on way early in the morning, pretty much just early in the morning for us, if I remember right. Like, you couldn't watch this after school or nothing. Maybe something was on Saturday or Sunday mornings.
But well, as I was saying, like with Voltron, you know, Voltron will battle the big monster, and then in every episode ends the fight by drawing its energy sword. But that's the same way that I can't think of any names of anything. The Power Rangers. It's the way the Power Rangers ended their fights.
Well, I consider them a ripoff since they were so far after everybody else. All they did is like take the parts of everything else that was successful and split it, you know, splice it together.
A Japanese Spider-Man. That's how he ended his fights with the big monster, drawing his sword.
According to the internet, from 97 to night, that it was on at 8 a.m. from 97 to 98. Previously, various weekday and weekend rotations. I guess they can't tell us.
Which one?
G-Force.
Oh.
I remember looking forward to G-Force. The other ones I only saw because they were after the fact on VHS. Because I wasn't, you know, I mean, they just didn't exist. You couldn't just go watch anime if you felt like it. So G-Force was like, I don't know if it was the only, well, Speed Racer was first. And I don't remember where I seen Speed Racer. Probably in the morning. So it must have been whatever channel I was watching on regular TV, bought anime because it was cheap or they thought it was cool or something. And it would be like the Soy Report or whatever. They'd come on and tell you how much corn costs. And then before the news or anything, you'd see anime and Lancelot Link. And then the news. And then you'd go to school. So it was like way before school. You'd have to get up way early to watch this stuff. Like you had to find it. And then once you found it, like, what the hell? Yeah, you're waking up for it. But like Scooby-Doo, he's saying? Like Scooby-Doo was on the weekend. And maybe after a while after school. But after school was like G.I. Joe and all the stuff trying to sell you shit. Before school was, you could go watch the Flintstones or something maybe.
You've got like the 70s. You had your Saturday morning cartoons. And then as you moved into the 80s, all that pivoted to sports on Saturdays. So cartoons went to after school.
Oh, interesting.
TJ said we never got it over here, but we got Battlestar Galactica.
Well, that's
Another
different.
show.
Yeah. I can't believe they didn't get anime. You'd think they'd get anime being right there.
Well, I don't know about being right there. They're kind of over and down.
Well, they're closer than us, though.
Ozzy Osbourne out there. He said we watched Scooby-Doo. Wood said Scooby without Scrappy. Yes, Scrappy was the cousin Oliver. It's kind of as the show's ratings start to dip, they bring in a younger character to try to boost viewership.
We'll talk about doing the exact same ending on every show. Like every single Scooby-Doo is the exact, it was very formulaic.
New York Outcast said, I never got into the TV shows, but I'm all over the audiobooks when it comes to space.
Somewhere around like 5th or 6th grade, it wasn't audiobooks, but we all started reading, like, what do you call it? Science fiction books and that kind of stuff. So I don't remember when I first started listening to audiobooks. It was in cassette tapes for sure. And in the car when I was driving, it was like, what do you call it? Like changing, what did they say? Like world changing.
I've kind of I haven't listened to anything in a while, but the past few years, I got into the audiobooks. I'd listen to them at work.
I think they're kind of like fads or like you get into them, but yeah, when you get into them, like that can be useful. Or if like
TJ said we had the Thunderbirds in the morning. Thunderbirds and probably, what was that other one?
Did they have Lancelot Link over there? Or was that was for the US? I guess that came out of Hollywood.
Captain something or other. It's another
Thunderbirds was England, right?
Yeah. As he said, Johnny Quest was another favorite. I would watch it Saturday mornings. For me, it was a replay. Ozzy's old enough; it might have been first run for him.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I remember Johnny Quest, and I was real young. So.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Was that like a Saturday thing or like an after school thing?
It was Saturday.
Okay.
Gary, have you seen the Venture Brothers?
I have not.
I haven't either.
You might like that. It's a spoof of Johnny Quest. I really liked it. Woods brought up Choose Your Own Adventure.
Yeah, those are pretty good. I tore through them when they first came out. I wonder if they still make those.
Probably.
So the problem is they were all Dungeons and Dragons when I was a kid. It's probably half the reason I don't like that stuff anymore. but I read the crap out of them because you could read them over and over and obviously change the things around. Did you see that movie? They made 2 movies like that. It was like a Bend of Borak or something. I forget what it was.
They had like Clue. Clue had 3 different endings. You didn't get to choose it, but
Right, like
depending
what?
on where you saw it, you got a different ending.
Yeah.
And well, there. I think I know what you were talking about, because there was ones where you chose in the theater.
Oh, this was just on Netflix or something. It's like Bandersnatch or something, and I've only seen it like where it's a rip off of it. So they just it's nonsensical. You just watch like all of it in a row, and it's wrong. It's like trying to read a Choose Your Own Adventure all in a row. It just makes no sense. But on Netflix, he'll be like, "I'm about to eat some cereal," and then you'll choose on Netflix which cereal he's going to eat, and then that'll lead to the next thing, and then you'll make that decision, just like one of those books. But there's multiple ways to watch it, I guess, on Netflix. But I've only, like I seen it all laid out, and it makes no sense. But it's really interesting. I'm sure it would be awesome because the freaking, having seen all the endings, they're insanely different.
I'm pretty sure they.
I guess that's just video games now.
Who had tried to do a choose your own adventure in a movie where you had a little keypad and you chose, like A, B, or C, 1, 2, 3, or whatever.
It would be like a vote of the audience or something.
Yeah. But I don't think that lasted very long. I would think the equipment would get torn up pretty fast.
Well, plus it'd be unsatisfying if, like, you know what I mean? Like, plus you'd never know if it was really even doing anything, because it could just be like, oh, everyone chose B this time. Oh, now everybody chose C, We getting ripped off of a bracket again?
Yeah, no bracket.
Poll even?
Oh, yeah, there is a poll. I think I forgot to mention the poll, but we'll go ahead and look at the poll, this week's poll.
Since we got no bracket. Is this because the barbecue isn't here?
Well, somebody was accused of blood doping, Gary. And the tests haven't come back yet, Gary.
What does that mean? Putting drugs in your blood?
During the bracket, he gets hooked up to a machine and they run his blood through to oxygenate it.
Oh.
So he performs better during the bracket. Allegedly. That's what Lance Armstrong, the bicyclist, that's what he was doing to win all his championships, all his Tour de France.
Damn. Like while he was on the bicycle?
After because they do it in stages.
Oh, okay.
So in between the stages, he'd get in a van and they'd pump his blood out. So as we close out 2025, how did 2025 compare to 2024? Better, the same, worse, or I can barely remember a week ago. I'm supposed to remember 2024. 45% said better. 27% said worse. 18% said the same. 9% can't remember yesterday. And looking at it was first. And Sergeant Joe Smith said every year gets shittier. People get stupider and lazier. They whine more and more. More people die until you are the only one left. New York Outcast, pretty much the same, but that's better than worse. Krabby Turtle, another year, another surgery. I guess worse has become the same. Boomstick Mark 6. So bad, I don't even want to talk about it. Ken Thompson, all of you voting for better must not live in Washington State. We're getting robbed in every way possible, and even in some ways that are not supposed to be possible. The goddamn bacon. I lost a lot, and frankly, it sucked. Still does. The silver lining is that I still have my health, family, and even got a few things more than my speed that I wouldn't have had I lost what I did. Hoping 2026 is better things in store. Oh, what about you guys?
Comments suck, but I was going to say at least it sounds like everybody's, for the most part, saying better, but I guess not, according to the comments.
I said better.
Oh, definitely better. But I was broke as shit for the last however many years for a long time there, so not being broke as shit, being worried constantly about every bill is that better than it was. But I also think that this year was better than what could have been. Let's just put it that way. Like I said earlier, if we would have had a different outcome of the thing last year, we'd be in a totally different place this year.
I would go with better. I think there's been a lot of positives, some setbacks, but on the whole, probably moving in a positive direction. Ozzy's said, I'm in Illinois. I'm getting used to taking it up the, you know what.
Well, in those regards, like I say, I think we have a lot of wins, but we can definitely do better we leave people behind. Like we've left states behind. We would just, those are the anti-gun states, and we move on. We should be able to figure out a way to deal with that.
Have a good night.
I had an interesting, Woods is leaving. I had an interesting back and forth. It made me think about some stuff. So if Barbecue was here, I'd be interested to hear what he said, but he hates the show now. But San Diego gun owners must have said something about John Lovell. Do you know that guy?
Yeah.
I don't really know him, but I don't like him. So when they said something about him, he made some video where he goes, California says you can't own Glocks. Well, I got this Glock and I brought it to California. I'm going to do what I want. So some video like that. And then San Diego gun owners guy, Michael, he made a video saying that's bad advice and that, instead of just saying whatever, like if you're going to be, what do they call that? Like whatever resistance, then, make a point and get ready to go to jail and do all the stuff that goes along with it. Don't just say, be a felon. So, or something, I'm summarizing it poorly probably. But anyway, he made some video like that's a couple of minutes long. And I said something like some comment on there to the effect of, I don't like these shills that come in and just preach to the choir and don't do shit to move the playing field. But I got a bunch of shit for that. I guess that John Lovell guy's got, what do you call them? Like fans that get all mad if you talk shit about them. Or if you
for those who might not know, that's a warrior poet society. It's John Lovell.
Oh, okay. I've heard of that. I never liked him. I never liked that thing either. But so anyway, I thought that was interesting. So then, I think maybe two guys started attacking me in the comments or whatever. Not attacking me, whatever, but talking shit and saying that Mike is a big fat guy and he shouldn't be able to talk because one, he's a big fat guy, and then two, he's a shill because he runs an organization in California, and California has bad gun laws. So obviously he's a shill. So I was like, oh, okay. So we often talk about how to talk to those people in the middle or how to talk to the other side. So that made me think, okay, there's people that are gun owners. You know what I mean? Like that guy would definitely consider, the guy who was yelling at me would definitely consider himself a gun owner. I think it was two people, but whatever. They would definitely consider themselves gun owners. And they're 100% like, California laws are bad. And if you disagree with me, then that means you agree with California laws somehow. And, I'm like, that's interesting. Like in a comment, it's pretty much, it's very difficult to have that, any kind of conversation with that. But in real life, if that person was at a rally or something and, came up where you're having a conversation or whatever, I don't know if we've paid any attention now that I'm thinking about it, or very little attention over the years even, to if it's worth having that conversation with the gun owner who's just satisfied with the echo chamber, let's say, or if it's not if it's worth it or not, and then if it is worth it, how do you have that conversation? So I don't know, at an hour and a half into the show, if it's worth bringing all that up, but something that I thought about, like, as I'm going back and forth with these guys in the comments and going, thinking to myself, there's no point here. Like, I can't win because these guys love John Lovell, and anything I say, I'm going to lose. So I just stopped. But it made me think, like, is there value in trying to communicate? I have no interest in communicating with these people. Like, I have more interest in communicating with somebody in the middle, just because I probably have more in common with them. But somebody who's going to, like, hero worship, I just have very little interest in somebody who hero worships. So I would write them off. But is that the way to go? And then, like I say, if it isn't the way to go, if you do want to talk to them, how do we talk to those people? Because, like I say, I just have very little interest in talking to them.
I don't know. I don't. I might say my piece and then leave it at that.
Right. But that doesn't do anything. You know what I mean? Like, that's just going to roll off them. And they're going to hear that as like, oh, you like the big fat guy and whatever.
I don't know. I don't know if there is a way to reach that person. I haven't had a lot of mix-ups like that with people, just because I tend not to
talk shit on the internet in front of everybody.
What? No, it's just I don't. I just don't engage with them. It usually just seems pointless because they don't care what you have to say. They just want to say what they want to say. I don't know how. I do not have the skills to reach them.
Yeah, that's a good way to summarize it. And that's probably just the fact of it.
But
But I think as far as like things go, I think the biggest issue, I personally still think the biggest issue is the suicide one. If we can get rid of the suicide one, we save people that we care about, and we take away a number that the other side, stands on all the damn time, and we accomplish it. Whatever. As we accomplish it, we've figured out a way to turn a lock as a group that we can now apply to other things. So I really think that's the bigger priority. Having people who are shills, I'm going to call them, in the gun community, it's like annoying, but they've been here the whole time. I mean, they probably have, like, every once in a while really ruined things. I can think of a couple of times where a couple of them I just personally know about, like, ruined something, but that didn't stop us from getting to 30 states of constitutional carry and 50 states of concealed carry, right? Like, we're still making some headway, but I guess it's, like I say, it's low on the priorities. It's just annoying when it comes up. Well, it made me think, like I say.
I think people often reevaluate conversations later. Sometimes the effort does pay, but results are always instantaneous.
Are not always instantaneous.
The inner conversation needs to happen first.
No, that's a great point, dude. And that's the thing, too, is like, as I was saying it, I was like, probably bugging him because I kept saying he worships John Lovell, because I know that was going to bother him because that guy's like a priest or something. But I was like, I probably didn't need to do that, and that isn't going to be conducive to what Outcast is saying. But I think he's right. If I would have been like a better, whatever, like just impartial, like, hey guy, you're suggesting that your guy who's condoning a felony is somehow better than the guy who clarified it to be, what's that called when you do something intentional and you're going to go to jail? There's a word for that. Or there's a phrase for that, I guess. I can't think of it. But, the difference between, like, just being a felon and then, man, I can't think of it. There's a name for, or a phrase for when you, resistance, maybe?
I don't.
Yeah. Anyway, so, Mike was basically saying in the video that got everybody all upset was that, just saying, hey, go be a felon is dumb. Instead, why don't you peacefully resist, get yourself arrested, take that case to the Supreme Court and change the laws. But, just yelling and screaming ain't going to change the laws. And of course the people came in and started yelling and screaming, like, you don't tell us how to change the laws. We'll tell you.
Yeah, I would agree with New York also New York Outcast. There's people on the interwebs, here's on the YouTubes, that I try to be a positive influence. Their stances are not my stances, but if nobody shows them a different way, they're probably not going to change.
Yeah, exactly. How do you know there's an alternative if you haven't been exposed to it or aware of it?
And it might be fool's errand on my part, but I'm willing to try.
Oh, I think it's valuable. That's why a lot of people fall into the 9mm. They just don't realize there's other calibers out there. They suspect there must be a better caliber because the caliber they're shooting is so wimpy. But until they've actually experienced it, they just don't have that life experience, that understanding yet. Did I tell you a
Gary?
story? I went in to buy 357 ammo one day, and a pretty big gun shop, and I mean, I don't know in town anymore, but one of the larger gun shops in town probably. And went in there by 357. They had one brand and like 2 boxes of it. And I was like, what, did somebody come here and buy all your 357 yesterday? And they're like, no, we just don't carry that much.
Really?
Yeah, so that's the kind of power the 9mm mafia has to sequester, is that the right word? Like push down the good calibers.
I don't know. It's been a while since I bought any 357, so I don't know how well the shelves are stocked.
I definitely went to a store that was like CCW-ish, like ARs and CCW. So I didn't go to like a cowboy store or nothing. There are cowboy stores in town.
Once I learned how to do it myself, there's not a lot of calibers that I'll go and buy. It's like I've got some in reserve, and then if I need more, I'll just make them. So I'm not sure how the ammo supply is out there.
I bet you that's the first time in 10 years I bought a box of ammo. Or maybe longer. I'd have to think about it.
I have never in my life bought 357.
Really? Oh, you don't own one?
No, I don't own one.
Why not?
I don't know. Just don't.
It is a fun one. I mean, if you went to the range all the time, you'd probably eventually get one.
Yeah. And if I had lots of money.
Well, that's the thing. They're not as expensive as a 44, and you can shoot 38s in them, so they're even cheaper if you really want to just save money.
True.
But I like them because they're just you can get a pretty big frame, and even with the biggest frame, it's not like shooting 44. It's not abusive. It might hurt a little bit, but on a big frame, it absorbs it.
It's, I don't know. It's gonna, usually I say, well, it's not that bad, but I'm not everybody else.
It can be bad. As soon as I was saying it, I'm like, yeah, the LCR does hurt a little while after you shoot it after a bit.
But that's like my 360, the ultralight, not ultralight. They're not airlight. The hell is it? But the scandium frame. It is abusive.
Yeah, those don't
change it out to grips. Helped a little bit. With 38s, it's no problem. 357, I will not shoot a full box of 50 rounds.
I wish I would have kept mine.
It's worse than my 357 Derringer. But I figured if I'm carrying it and something happens, you're not going to feel it, is the adrenaline. Adrenaline is a hell of a painkiller. You're not going to feel it until afterwards. You can get like a Taurus for cheap, Gary, and they have like a K-frame size. Are nice to, help. They're heavy enough to help soak up some of that recoil.
Well, I'd wonder if it might not be a thing anymore because it's kind of a long time ago, but I wonder if there's police trade-ins floating around out there. because that was a
Oh,
popular caliber for a while.
don't really see revolvers on the for police trade-ins.
Well, not anymore. It's
just-
been a while. Well, a long time the state cops would carry revolvers, 357s. I mean, a long time ago, I guess. For a long time, though, a while ago.
Yeah, I was just looking the other day. You do see a lot of weird stuff. They're under the police trade-in category. It'll be like a Keltec police trade-in. I don't know if it's something that it was actually carried or if it was just a cop that sold it to him.
Or it came from like a crime scene or was stolen or something, and they just auctioned it off, and that shop bought it, and everything coming from the cops is a trade-in.
It could be.
Or worse, a buyback. I don't know if anybody's doing that, though. I don't think anybody... most of the buybacks destroy the guns, I think.
I think so, because that would kind of defeat the purpose of a buyback. Is if they turn around and sold them.
Be a great way to make money, though.
Yeah, I was going to say, depending on what the purpose of the buyback is, if they're just really trying to make some money, then it'd probably be a great way to make money.
Is here in Washington, they were trying to stop the state patrol from selling their crime guns.
They were talking about that on Hillbilly's show earlier. That cops will auction off the guns. I've seen cops auction off guns, but I've also seen plenty of guns come back from the police to either the person it was stolen from or the person who used it and other reasons, but come back to the people who owned it.
The shop I used to go to, they used to have there in the used guns, there'd be some really crusty looking janky guns. And wasn't until one day one of the guys is like, "Hey, we got some new crime guns in. You want to take a look at those?" And then I realized, the crusty ones are the ones they bought from the state or whatever police department. The crime guns.
Shop I used to hang out at did that for a while there, kind of towards the end. They got some hookup from the police, whoever. But they were always boring guns. It was almost always stolen guns. So it was like an assortment, but it was like people stole the most boring guns ever. You can tell they stole them from like old people.
Well, Gizzard.
Yes.
So, is there anything from 2025, whether it's gun related or just to you newsworthy, that stands out in your mind?
Professionally, I mean, a lot of things have happened to me personally, but professional wise, it's just been a pretty good year for reviewing things and stuff like that. I've gotten a lot of nice for review and stuff like that. And, but nothing earth shaking that I can think of.
Well, is there anything you'd like to let everybody know about you got coming up?
Well, I would like to let everybody know that I'm back from my vacation. So we will be back to the live shows starting Monday, Thou Territory, 9 p.m. Central. And for my channel members only chat Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Central. Also, because I was a little late getting home, so I just now got this VV Knife videos put on YouTube. So I released those this evening. So if anybody wants to check out a couple new knives from Civivi this month, check out my channel. And thanks for having me.
Oh, speaking of that, did you see the question from way earlier? Wasn't that on
Yeah,
the show?
Justin Graham. Yeah.
Yeah. Which one
I
did you
did.
answer?
Yeah. I actually prefer the old one.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
not a big fan of slip joint knives.
I guess I don't know the old one. I don't know if I have the old one.
The old one's the one I carry pretty much for my everyday carry.
Oh, okay. Does it have a toothpick in it?
Yes. Toothpick
Okay.
and tweezers both. The new one does not.
I missed that question.
It was like right when we started. It was a long, long time ago. I just didn't even see Gizzard answer it.
In reference
text.
to the Civivi Slippy Sandy that I reviewed tonight. And it basically looks quite a bit like my old Civivi Sandy that I reviewed about a year ago. And he asked which one I preferred.
And then what is the lock on the other one?
The other one is it's a liner lock.
Oh, okay. So if I got
So
it,
you
I
wouldn't
probably
like it
put
at all.
Yeah, I probably put it in the pile. I do remember something coming out. I think it was the Banter, though. I got a Banter, right, with a toothpick and a thing.
Same person, Ben Peterson, is a designer for both of them.
Yeah, for whatever reason, I like slip joint. I don't know. I mean, I don't perform or nothing, but I do like
They're
them.
coming out with quite a few of them lately. So
I've got
it
myself
must
too
be-
many times
It
by
must
using
be
it.
just getting popular. I don't know if older guys are buying them or what, but a lot of companies are doing those now.
I mean, they're fast. But so if you're just cutting open like tape on a box with that Slippy or with that Sendy, then I could see it. But yeah, for like too much use, yeah, it's kind of not the greatest.
I have a habit of using it in a way which you shouldn't, and I end up cutting my fingers because it'll close on me.
Yeah, there's no lock back.
So anything else you want to let everybody know about?
That's all I got. Other than it's been a great year, and thanks to everybody for being with me and being with you, and looking forward to 2026.
G-Webs, anything you want to let everybody know about? Or anything you got coming up?
No.
All right. So next chat will be next year. So next Saturday. Yeah, I don't know about any videos. I've got a few I've been kind of thinking about doing, but I don't know. Well, they'd be interesting enough. So maybe yes, maybe no new videos, but there should be a chat next Saturday. Appreciate everybody that was out there in the chat, and if you watch this in a replay, leave a comment. Anything we talked about, agree with, disagree with? What do you think is the biggest story from 2025? And I read all the comments, and I do appreciate them. Though, other than that, I hope everyone has a good rest of the night and a good new year, and go do something good.